I'm not going to be a judge, but I want you to know that we will be fruit inspectors. Thank you.
There are things that you just don't see because perhaps it's what you don't want to see, or you don't have a label for it or whatever.
Some of it may be that some hostile attitudes have built up over the years through different experiences, and some of it is just the dealing with the unknown, and all of those things are enough to make people uncomfortable.
It's what no one wants to talk about, but it's there, like a cloud that envelops us all. We're able to move, but because it's there, we can't enjoy a full and clear view of our community, our world.
The word privilege means unearned advantage. And when you put that together with white in the context that we live here in the United States, it simply means that white persons, because of the color of their skin, have an advantage over people of color because of the history.
I do carry a basket full of privileges. You know, I'm white, I'm male, I'm American, I was born in the 20th century, I have education. Those are all privileges that I have.
The term white privilege is a recent one in my experience, so it's not one that I readily connected with. But the more I've connected with my own awareness of race, ethnicity, and the history of our country and all the rest of it, I can understand and begin to fit it into that context, but it's a pretty recent term for me.
I think that our generation is dealing with racism and issues of white privilege in a very different way than our parents did. People are having more experiences with people who are different and more diversity. But that being said, we still live in a very racist society.
I told you I was listening to a black man speak, and I had opinions about him before he ever spoke, based upon just the tone of his voice and the color of his skin, just the nature of him, just from looking and hearing him without knowing anything about him. When I had to face up to that, I had those judgments about him with no basis whatsoever. It hurt. It just really hurt.
Self-exploration and a willingness to make the first step on this journey is hard work, but it's doable.
In just a few moments, I'm going to be asking you to take a step forward or a step back, depending on how the question affects you. If your relatives or ancestors could not go to college or university because of their race, take one step back. If you expect an inheritance from a family member, take one step forward. If you often see people of your race or ethnic group in negative roles on TV or in movies, take one step back.
The most eye-opening thing was probably when we did an activity where we all lined up and all the white people ended up standing forward and all the African Americans stood back. And I didn't realize that there was such a contrast and that people of different races were treated so much differently.
I think that whites really began, not at first, but during the course of the 6 weeks study, really began to get white privilege. And they began to understand that even though they didn't ask for any of the privileges that come with being white, that there is such a thing as white privilege.
But my observation is that when white persons are in private, while there may not be any overt bigotry, there is a kind of smugness that is manifested. A kind of rolling of the eyes, figuratively speaking, occurs, I think, among white people. And to me, that's an indication that white people know that we are in a privileged position, and that nothing's really going to shake that.
If you are part of what theorists call the dominant culture in a given place, the luxury is precisely that you don't have to think about it. So of course it's invisible to you. It's invisible the way water is invisible if you're a fish. It's what you inhabit all the time.
The impact of white social and cultural privilege becomes painfully clear when persons of color can experience both worlds.
I was not aware of white privilege years ago when I was raised in primarily African American communities. Felt safe, felt at home, and then after being appointed to an Anglo congregation, I began to see that there were some differences. Well, first of all, just the differences in compensation levels at that time. Also, the way in which parsonages were maintained and kept. And you're raised like that and you think, well, that's just the way it is, until you move into another area, another community, and realize that there are some differences. But by the same token, you cannot help but think, why is this?
Unearned privilege is a remnant of unjust social systems that have existed around the world for centuries. Guilt must give way to examining and understanding our past before change can occur.
The vision is not ours, it's God as creator. And white people cannot be whole until they dismantle this system we created in this country uniquely of all countries in the world. Our banks were built on it, the land was built upon it, the very fabric of this country was built on blood spilled and land stolen.
We have had our languages taken from us, our identity taken from us, and we've been given an identity by the dominant culture that we are supposed to accept, and an identity which has been said that is honoring us when indeed it is not.